topic that I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about is whether or not new shooters with handguns should start out with iron sights or a red dot. And I'm going to be the first to admit that you should take this video with a grain of salt. I'm not going to profess to be the end-all be-all expert. I don't think I'm an expert at all. I've learned some stuff over the years that I think that I can teach people about, but at the end of the day, do your own research, check out a bunch of different sources, and ultimately the only way you're going to know which one's best for you is to try both. Now, I'm going to put an argument in front of you. If you decide to start shooting a pistol with a red dot and you have somebody that can help you get those fundamentals down really well, that you don't waste a lot of time forming bad habits, I would argue that running a red dot from the start is going to give you a serious advantage. And to understand the advantage of shooting with a red dot, I think I should dive into the methodology of how we aim with red dots. And then I'm going to talk about iron sights, and you're going to see how much simpler it is to aim with a red dot. So the big thing about a red dot is when we are shooting and aiming, we can be target focused. And what I mean about that is I can look through my dot, I can focus on whatever target I'm trying to hit, and the dot superimposes on that target. So as long as I put that dot where I want it to be, I can see the target very clearly, break the shot without moving that dot, I'm going to hit what I want to hit. It's just a very simple, clean way of aiming a pistol. And there's some advantages to that. When we're looking at a dot, when we're looking through a sight picture, or a sight glass, I should say, I'm not obstructing my view of the target. So that's another benefit of learning how to shoot with a red dot. The other thing I'm going to say with a red dot is you're adjusting your zero to your preference. Now, I want you to be careful about this because one of the things you could do, especially as a new shooter, is have a lot of bad habits. You could be flinching every time you're shooting, every time you're breaking the trigger, you're moving your sights. So when you're zeroing that red dot as a new shooter, I would recommend putting the gun in a vise or getting an experienced shooter that you've audited, not Joe Schmo that believes that he's the best at shooting, but you have a friend that you know is a really good shooter who can help you zero your pistol. Once you've decided that zero, the benefit of that is it's very easy for you to understand your height over bore and how your impacts are going to change based on the distance that you're shooting. Now let's talk about the iron sights. So the iron sights that I have on the back and the front of this gun, the way that you would align them is a phrase that a lot of you have heard, equal height, equal light. And what that means is on the back of the iron sight, there's a U shape. And the front sight is just a simple blade. So what you'll do is put that blade, that front post, whether that has tritium, fiber optic, or it's just steel, you center that up in the middle of that U shape. Sometimes it is literally a U, sometimes it's a square cutout, sometimes it's a V. Either way, you put that front sight in the center of that. You want to have an equal amount of light, or being able to see light past that front blade on the right and the left. And if you were to take a flat edge and put it on top of your rear sight so that you can't see over top of it, you should line the front sight up with the very top of that rear sight. So you can already tell that we've got a lot of stuff going on with iron sights. And while it's not really rocket science, you don't have to have a degree to understand how to use iron sights. The reality is, as a new shooter, that's already complex enough to learn how to shoot a handgun. You already need to figure out the trigger press. You already need to learn these fundamentals, and it can be very overwhelming. So I see an advantage for new shooters getting into this using a red dot. The one caveat that I'm going to say about that is you can be hindered by only shooting a red dot. So I do think that it's important, even if you learn on a red dot, to understand how to shoot with iron sights. And when we're shooting with iron sights, we're typically front sight focused. The problem with that is the rear sight tends to be blurry. That in and of itself is not really a problem, but when we're front sight focused, we're not target focused. If we focus on the target with iron sights, you won't even see your iron sights. Now, I would be the first to admit that there's situations that you could justify aiming in a multitude of different ways, even if it's just like point shooting. There are situations where that could be effective and you could actually get effective hits. So I don't think the front sight focus is gospel in every single situation. I do think that's the proper way to aim as we're learning how to shoot a handgun. But what I've seen with new shooters is getting confused with aiming the iron sights, and what it ultimately does is hinders their ability to grow as shooters. Now, I don't want you to take this and make excuses and say, well, my gun only has iron sights and I suck at shooting because iron sights are hard. I think that that's a poor excuse. I think that you should dry fire more. I think you should seek out some training from individuals that are a little bit further ahead of you. I don't think that if you have iron sights, you need to run out quick and get a red dot just because it's the coolest thing that's happening right now. I think that you should follow a trend of what I did. Learn how to shoot with your iron sights that you already have. Get really good with your pistol as it stands. You can get different iron sights. Some of them have fiber optic fronts. I've found that a fiber optic front sight with a steel rear sight helped me out a lot as I got into shooting handguns. But I don't want people to make excuses. I don't think that you should say, I'm not going to learn iron sights because it's hard. Again, my argument is I see value in a new shooter learning with a red dot. The downside of shooting with a red dot is if you're not learning iron sights, you're missing a piece of the equation with your pistol shooting. Now, the last thing that I wanted to just touch on is I do believe that just shooting a red dot could potentially be harder for some people, depending on if they have an instructor or somebody they can trust helping them out. And the reason why is if you throw a red dot in a new shooter's hand, one of the first times they're shooting a handgun, they're gonna notice that the dot's moving a lot. And that can be seen as a problem to that new shooter. And it can also be extremely distracting. When you're aiming iron sights, there's a perception that your gun's just not moving that much. And that's just a phenomenon that the first time you shoot a red dot pistol, you're going to notice. And you have to overcome that. That dot is going to be moving all the time. You're gonna be getting a little shake. Just like if I hold my hands out, if I'm just kind of viewing the world from a wide lens and I'm holding my hands out, they don't really look like they're shaking. To you guys, from that angle, my arms probably look very stable. But if I focus on my thumbs, I can tell you they're moving a lot. And the same thing can be true with this pistol. When you're looking at me holding this, it probably doesn't look like it's moving much, but that dot is going all over the place. Just little micro movements. I shouldn't say all over the place, little micro movements. I can see it dancing around. And so you have to be able to overcome that, because you're never going to eliminate that unless you set it on a table and you're looking through your red dot. And even then, you're not going to eliminate that wiggle. So if you're a new shooter and you're getting into shooting a pistol and you decide to go the red dot method, that's something that I think is valuable for you to understand. It is normal. You're not going to eliminate that. So guys, I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity around which method you should go with. Ultimately, my argument is get both, run both, learn both, become proficient with both. But if you have to choose one over the other to start, getting a pistol that's already milled for a dot and has iron sights as backups gives you the best of both worlds, and that's the direction that I personally have gone as of lately. Guys, if you found this video helpful, hit the comment, like it, like the video, comment, don't hit the comments. Unless you want to, I won't judge you, but get down in the comment section, let us know what you think about it, hit the like button, subscribe, and please, send this video to a friend. That's how you can pay it forward. You can help us spread our message, help us get out to new people, help people become aware of what we're doing here at TA Targets. And if you want to go one step further, you can also check out our website. The links are down in the description below. When you purchase something from us, you're helping us to continue putting out free information for other people. Guys, we appreciate you, and we will catch you in the next one.